It's in here. Yeah.
Okay, we welcome Kim. We have quorum. So, and welcome to our special guest tonight. I believe we've already started, so I will
I'll bring it.
go straight to it. So welcome to everybody to the Human Services Committee. It is February the 21st, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. And the meeting is being held by Zoom at https://townofbarnstable-us.zoom.us/j/829-121-34312, meeting ID 829-121-34312. Then 877-853-5257, U.S. toll-free, also 888-475-4499, U.S. toll-free, and the meeting ID there is 829-1213-4312. I will call the meeting to order. Committee member Carlos Barbosa.
Yes.
Hi. Committee member Dr. Kimberly Crawford-Crowther.
Yes.
And I, Cheryl Powell, chair, is also present. Do we have committee member Megan Moore? Or committee member Liz Rabideau? Or committee member State Representative Stephen Saros? I'll acknowledge them when they come in. Sometimes, it's at the end of the day in the workday. There's no update on the committee membership. I do know of 2 people who are applying. I'll call Cynthia about that tomorrow. We're getting very close to trying to put our plan of action together to suggest to the town council. But I'm going to go straight into our presenters. And apologies and thanks to Diane Santoro, LICSW, who's Vice President of Behavioral Health Integration at Bay Cove, for agreeing to come to us. We were unable to hear the wonderful things you had to say last time. Did you want to screen share with your presentation, or did you send that to Cynthia Lovell?
It's probably easiest for me to screen share if that's okay.
Cynthia, is that okay? I love the plants behind you, and I'm going to wait for Kim to smile because she knows what my office looks like.
Yeah, I just made Diane co-host, so she should be able to share her screen.
Okay, give me 1 second then, yes. All right, everybody, I'm sure can see my screen, but I'd just like to check. Yes.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for having me here. I am actually a substitute. Rebecca Stanley is the director of our, oops, I did not mean to do that. Sorry. Hang on. Of our Cape Cod-based programming, and she was just unable to make the presentation. So I'm stepping in. So we are, I'm based in Boston, but she is based on the Cape. So I'm from Bay Cove, and we just opened the Bay Cove Behavioral Health and Wellness Center in Hyannis at 116 Camp Street. Oh, sorry, I'm having a little trouble. All right. Oh, I guess it just does the full screen. Okay, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about Bay Cove generally, a little bit about what we're doing now, and kind of what our plan is for the next few years. So Bay Cove Human Services is a Boston-based agency. Our mission is to partner with people to overcome challenges and realize their personal potential. We are a very person-centered agency. We really live by these guiding principles that everyone has value. We really try and build on individuals' strengths, be outcome focused, and really individualize our care using a holistic approach. We really want people to have the space to make their own choices as they seek that, the life of their own choosing and whatever that looks like to them. And we really try and work in partnership, not only with the individuals that we serve, but also their families of choice. And then, our partnership also extends to the community, the neighbors, organizations, our funders. And we really try and be part of a system and create as many bridges and relationships as is possible when we're providing our services. Quick snapshot of the kind of services that we provide. We've been in operation since 1974. We started as a detox. So we started with addictions. We have 4 service areas. We provide developmental services to developmentally challenged individuals, mental health, community services, which are residential programs. We have behavioral health integration. We also have addiction, where we provide a lot of homeless services as well. Over 170 programs throughout Greater Boston and Southeastern Massachusetts. In terms of what happens on the Cape for Bay Cove, we are really very focused, have been up until very recently, in really being the crisis service provider for the Cape. So any of you who are practicing in any mental health services on the Cape area, if you've had anybody who needed evaluation, a level of care assessment, connection to, substance services or mental health services as a result of a crisis, then you've probably come across our team. We've been operating that program since 2017. And it's a pretty busy program given the demographic. We see about 3,000 evaluations each year. We also work with lots of different forums, community forums that we collaborate with on the Cape. We work in every school, and we work with all the school adjustment counselors in each of the schools. We have served both the Falmouth Hospital and Cape Cod Hospital, and we work very closely with law enforcement in the area, including we have a clinician in place in Barnstable, and we have open requisition right now to put a clinician in place with the Bourne PD. So those are 2 police departments that we have a jail diversion clinician either in there, or we're looking for one to put in there. So in terms of what's happening with us right now, our work has expanded, and some of you may have heard in the last maybe 2 years-ish about the behavioral health roadmap and a redesign of community-based mental health services in the state of Massachusetts. So this has been a statewide initiative to create these community behavioral health centers, CBHCs, and each catchment area in the state was put out to bid, and each catchment area, then you had to have a lead agency take on the responsibilities for providing the services for the community behavioral health center. So Bay Cove is the lead agency on Cape Cod. We have partners, which I'll talk about in a little bit as well. But the behavior, so we named our community behavioral health center the Bay Cove Behavioral Health and Wellness Center. And so we really have worked hard in our time on the Cape to have a true no wrong door approach, regardless of whether we take your insurance or the help that you need is the primary service that we provide. We will always pick up the phone and we try and connect people to whatever it is that they need. And that's adults, youth, and families. Now at our new program, the Behavioral Health and Wellness Center, we have expanded services. So in addition to the crisis services, which you'll see is on the 3rd bullet there, we have opened an outpatient clinic. So we have prescribing for individuals that need it, and we also have therapy for individuals that need it. And this is insurance blind and all ages. So that's a pretty significant change for us. And the expedited psychopharm services are sort of part of that outpatient clinic piece, those first two. We also continue to do the crisis intervention for youth and adults. We can do that site-based, or we are mobile. We go all over the state, all over the Cape as needed on site. We also can do any of those services telehealth if it turns out to be a better fit for the individual seeking services. We also have substance use services, where our clinic is licensed through BSAS, which is the Bureau of Substance Abuse Services in the state of Massachusetts. We have rapid access to MOUD treatment, medication for opioid use disorder treatment for any individual who is 16 or over. And I see your hand up, Carlos. I'm just going to get through this one, and I'll because I'm on a roll. We also operate and have the community crisis stabilization for adults is something that Bay Cove has been operating since 2017. As part of this initiative, we create crisis stabilization for youth was also created, and that is not something that is on Cape, and that is the regional provider for youth community crisis stabilization is Child and Family Services, and that program is in New Bedford. But we have a relationship with them and a rapid referral and access. And then to really just round out these somewhat typical treatment-driven services, we have really what we like to think of as enhancements around this with care coordinations, just helping people to navigate the system. We have peer supports, individuals with experience of the system that are there to sort of provide a different level, not a clinical necessarily supports, but more just peer supports. We have recovery coaches, which are folks that are more focused on addictions. And we have family partners who are family members who have helped their own youth through the system to work with families. And we have case managers. So this is all part of the staffing at the Bay Cove Behavioral Health and Wellness Center. So I'll breathe. Carlos, what was your question?
Well, my question is, I don't understand the insurance blind. What does that mean?
Oh, it just means that you can come to us regardless of what your insurance is. We only take this or we only take that. It means that insurance doesn't matter. To get access to the service, it doesn't matter what your insurance is.
What about no insurance at all?
All good.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So you don't need to have insurance. Yes. So this is just to expand on that a little bit. The community behavioral health centers, the initiative that just happened, that is a Mass Health funded program. So it is reimbursed for individuals with Mass Health or uninsured. And then Bay Cove, just in general, we're working on the piece of being insurance blind because we have some grant funding that enables us to do that funds services for individuals who have insurances that we can't bill for. So not all of the community behavioral health centers in the state are insurance blind, but Bay Cove is able to be because of some funding that we get from the federal government, some SAMHSA funding.
What about undocumented use the service?
I'm sorry?
Undocumented people can be used the service?
Yep.
Yes. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep. Meant for the Bay Cove is the lead. Our partners are Duffy Health Center, and I think they've come and spoken to you. So there are access for MOUD, the medication for opioid use disorder, and they're just fantastic. This program. And then Cape Cod Healthcare, we've been working with Cape Cod Healthcare since we got on the Cape in 2017. And they have been providing prescribing crisis stabilization unit. And now they're doing some part-time prescribing in our outpatient clinic for us as well. And then just a quick slide about sort of when we approach a new project like this, we really do, we don't just do all the programming and then put it in place and then walk away in hope that it works. We are really constantly looking for quality improvement. We are in the process right now of doing a community needs assessment that it's part of the federal funding, and we hope to have something done by the end of March for that. We really we work with individuals when they come to us to give us permission right out of the gate to be able to reach out to them afterwards to get sort of some feedback about how it went for folks. And we've done this in other places, like in Boston in particular, and we really want to listen to that feedback, and then we pivot if it's not working for folks, or if we recognize something that is a need that we didn't expect, but we're seeing enough of it. We want to be continually getting feedback so that we're able to make sure that what we're doing is helping. And we also have an advisory committee, and I'd like to put this in here. We're in the process of forming it. Our first meeting is going to be in March. It's just quarterly. So we're looking for individuals, community members, people with lived experience, or people in behavioral health or addiction support, or if it's a family member that someone's helped through, anything like that. We really want to get that kind of input to our programming. And Hannah is my assistant, and she's been sending out some emails to folks to get some interest going. But if any of you are interested in joining our advisory committee or hearing more about it, Hannah's email is right here. I sent this along earlier, so I would hope when you do your minutes, maybe it would come out. You would get a copy of this if you're interested. So just lastly, geography. So right now we are in a temporary location at 116 Camp Street, which is real at that wild intersection where I don't even know what's happening there, at the corner of something and something, and it takes like 45 minutes to get from one side of the light to the other. You know where I mean. So we're right there, which we moved in there in January of 2023. Our permanent location will be where the Cape Urology Group is at 110 Main. They have got new space in Yarmouth that they're in the process of renovating and moving into. And then we'll be moving to 110 Main at some point, hopefully this summer, fingers crossed. How do you reach us? It's pretty easy. It's 833 Bay Cove. And that's for any of the services that I outlined here, whether it's a crisis or more a referral for ongoing care. Our operation hours, we have expanded hours for the clinic. We're open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 9 to 5 on Saturday and Sunday. And mobile crisis is, of course, available 24/7. Again, through that same number of 833 Bay Cove. There's always somebody that will answer that phone line. And then lastly, just some contact information, myself, Rebecca, who is really the brains of the operation, and then Hannah, who I just want to make sure if anybody is interested in the advisory council, she'd be the person to reach out to. And that is all I have. So I will, if anyone has any questions or needs more clarification on anything I said, please let me know.
Well, my question also is regards to any kind of a language issues that you might have. You have a translations there, or?
We have a translation service. We have staff that can speak Portuguese. And I'm pretty sure we just hired somebody who speaks Spanish, but or maybe it was Haitian Creole. We have a couple of languages, and then we do have a language line service that we use if need be.
Perfect.
I have to say it was very well presented, and thank you for the slides. Do we have permission to send to all the committee members the copy of the slides?
Yep.
And Carlos, you beat me to it. I would have my first question here was not sure everybody here understands what insurance blind is. Would you mind clarifying? But you took care of that for me.
Okay.
I don't have, and I'm not sure everybody understands what the MOUD was either.
Okay. So that's like methadone, Suboxone, Vivitrol. So it's the use of medication, specifically replacement medication,
Yep.
To combat addiction.
Okay, I wasn't sure if people understood those. I thought very interesting, and Hannah may be hearing from me, but the
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great.
kind of right up my alley. But do any of the other committee members have questions? And we can always go into questions later. We do have 3 speakers tonight. But if there's any immediate questions, would you feel comfortable staying with us while we go through the other 2?
Sure.
Excellent. So I'm going to, have we had anyone else arrive yet either? No. Kathy, I know that you have you have something else you have to go to before long. Would you like to go? You're muted. That's better. Would you like to go ahead and start, and then we'll go into John? Because
Sure.
you have very similar things that you're talking about.
Okay, so I'm from the Faith Family Kitchen, which is sponsored by the Cape Cod Council of Churches. We serve meals 3 nights a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We have 16 churches and 1 service group that participate in serving. Each group has 1 night a month that they show up and volunteer to serve the meal, clean up, and greet our guests and take some demographic data from them. And I don't know. I'm better at making a soup than speaking it to a group. So
you're doing an excellent job.
Thanks. Right now, until April 1st, we've been partnering with Duffy Healthcare with their In From the Street program, which is sheltering people on nights that are below freezing. They also have some more a smaller group of steady people that stay in the hotels with health issues. So we deliver a hot meal every night that we're open, and in addition, we also pack a cold meal for the following night, or 2 cold meals to get them through the weekend. And we include all kinds of goodies and snacks so that there's something to kind of sustain them while they're there. We get a lot of food from the Greater Boston Food Bank. And in addition, we have participate in what they call enabling, which is donated foods from Target and in Hyannis and the Stop and Shop in Hyannis. And you probably know Andrea Marcelli, who's the Barnstable County Food Access Coordinator. And she's been helping us in a few ways. She's got a team of people that deliver the foods, the meals to the host hotel and the Tidewater, which are the hotels that Duffy puts people up in. And she also has a team of basically food rescuers that will pick up the food from Target and Stop and Shop for us and bring it to us. And we redistribute it to Hands of Hope Food Pantry in Harwich as appropriate, things that we can't necessarily use, but we make sure nothing goes to waste. Right now, we have a really interesting collaboration with the Cape Cod Commercial Fishermen's Alliance. They've been bringing us a fish stew and a haddock chowder. And last week was the first week we got a delivery, and I'm astounded at how much our guests love the haddock chowder. I like, sometimes fish is a hard sell with them, but we had, they ate up all the chowder that we prepared for that night. So we're going to have to beef up our quantities for the next time. That was our first outing with that. And also last week we got 30 CSA boxes from Capabilities, which we actually wanted to breaking down to use for everybody. It goes, part of our hot meal goes to Duffy, to our dining customers. Oh, I didn't mention that in addition to opening our dining room for guests that want to eat in, we also still do takeout meals, which were started during COVID. And we actually serve more meals to go than we actually serve indoors, unfortunately. I'd really like to see more people come inside, but I think there's a variety of reasons why it goes out. Sometimes one person will pick up several meals and take them to wherever they are. One of our frequent flyers, who comes with all of his worldly possessions in a carriage every night, told me that he thinks people don't want to leave their stuff, because when they come back, if they come here to eat and they go back, their stuff's going to be gone. So that's, I think, why some of the food goes out. Someone will pick up a lot of meals. We also have families that will pick up dinner for their family. But honestly, we have the capacity to serve more people, and I'd like to connect with more people. There's a lot of parts, and I'm not getting to all of it. And although we are making an effort to connect with local schools to remind people that we're here, they can pick up a meal to take home to their families. I mean, it's so easy. You can pick up however many. I have one woman that always comes and takes 6 dinners and 6 desserts and 6 salads and 6 soups and everything else, fruit and whatever goes with the meal that night. So we, as I say, we really have the capacity to connect with more people. If I'm going to get a sandwich board and walk down Bursa's Way and with an arrow to the Faith Assembly of God. Looking for feedback always on how to connect with more people. Or somebody has ideas,
Kathy, can I ask you a question? You said the data collector at the door when the people go in. My experience with the immigrant community, when you talk about collecting data, they're not gonna show up.
It's really difficult.
Yeah, they think everything's to the immigration. So,
we're very laid back about it, and we don't. It's part of getting funding is having some numbers, and it's kind of partly, our volunteers are sort of they don't really hold the clipboard, but they stand nearby to point, to explain anything as needed. And we're not experts at that. We're always sort of changing up how we present the questions and letting people understand that it's not, getting a meal is not contingent on filling out this piece
if you don't mind, I have some suggestions for you. You're part of the council of churches, and they have a lot of Brazilian churches, Spanish church, part of the council that too. Is that correct? So if the pastors and priests present to the community, it's okay to go then pick up a meal. Nothing's going to happen to you if you ask some few questions. I think the church can help out in that direction.
Yeah, that's a great idea. We do have the Foursquare Church comes once a month. And so we'd like to have more participation with Brazilian community in terms of coming to eat. And
those pastors have the community twice a week on a church. So it's a way to advertise that and try to have them, trust. coming from the pastor. So it's going to be great. So
I have to say, we were in the position to receive a very large grant last summer. But the requirements were information that we're not comfortable to ask our guests. And it's very difficult. So my Edie Neesmith, who's the director of the Council of Churches, she does the grant writing, is always struggling with how do we get this information without being intrusive, and it's a balance.
right.
So one of the things that we're doing is we're putting together a database, and that might be one of the ways to get that out there. I also have a question, if you don't mind. You were talking about how one of the gentlemen spoke of not wanting to leave their stuff as being one of the reasons. But you also spoke of a guy that came with a cart with probably all of his worldly goods. They are allowed to bring their stuff with them, are they not?
Oh, yes. But I think the person with the cart, because I said to him one night, where is everyone?
Yeah.
And that he was the one that was thinking that, people that don't, he moves his cart around with them. He never leaves it. But there are people that are, hunkered down somewhere that his thought was that maybe they don't want to leave home base,
Yeah, they have a space and they don't want to lose their space. But I just wanted to ask about that. We do have one more presenter. Did any of the committee members have any further? That was a fantastic. You were worried about presenting.
I do have one question.
Yeah, Kim.
Oh no, Kathy, you were awesome, and thank you so much for your good work. I have like a question. Is there how often can people access to pick up meals, and also are you able to accommodate them if they have like an allergy or something that would preclude them, say, from having what was on the menu on the day?
Absolutely. Well, we serve Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 5:30 to 6:30. We're limited by our contract with the church to serving only those nights. But we do, in fact, with Duffy, when I get the count for the evening with Duffy, there's frequently gluten-free, nut allergy, vegetarian. There's somebody with a green bean allergy. So anytime someone expresses some kind of food sensitivity, we can accommodate that.
That's so nice. I also know what you're saying about the chowder, because one of the food pantries in the area recently had crab legs, which I wouldn't have thought would have been a popular choice, but apparently it was a very hot commodity. So there you go.
Any other committee members with some questions before we go into our last speaker?
Just a location, Kathy, if you can give it to us. Is it West Main Street?
The church is at 154 Versus Way in Hyannis. It's the Faith Assembly of God Church. We are around back at the Bacon Street entrance, so that's it's pretty easy to find when you know you have to go around back. I did have one thought for Diane. We do, some of our guests that come a lot clear, and I'm thinking again of this, especially of this fellow with the cart, need some help. And it would be, I do have discussions with him about how to get him in a safer place. And he does clearly have some issues that are beyond my capacity to deal with, but knowing that that you're so close, so nearby, and maybe bringing that up in conversation.
And that's one of our tasks, to try to coordinate between the various different groups and, get information gathering and try to come up with some sort of suggestion to put before the town council that might help.
Sometimes an individual like that might be more comfortable talking with like a peer as opposed to a doctor or a social worker or clinician. They feel a little bit like something bad is going to happen. To your point, Carlos, they don't want to talk to like an authority. But yeah, we have peers, and they go around too. They travel around. So if it was something that, you know, somebody you were worried about and you want us to just stop by sometime and say hi and check in, we don't have to do anything more than that. Just to start the conversation.
That reminds me, we do have the nurse from Barnstable County, and I'm sorry, I can't remember her name. She comes twice a month and to do blood pressure screenings and you know, sugar, diabetes testing. And so if we can kind of grow those things, that you know, people can take advantage of while they're here. And we hand out a lot of blankets and socks and gloves and food cards to Wendy's and McDonald's, and we try to make it more than just 1 hour 3 nights a week, or we really have to maximize those 3 hours.
So just to get it right, it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3 nights a week for 1 hour. What is the time at that 1 hour start?
5:30 to 6:30.
And the other days you do cold meals, is that correct?
Well, the cold meals go out with the hot meal. So we send out a bag with the cold meal for the next day and a hot meal. So 2 bags for each person, or on weekends it's 2 cold meals and a hot meal.
Excellent.
That goes with stuffing.
Excuse me. Any of the commissioners or committee members have any other questions? Carlos.
I just want to make a comment, and I want to applaud the Council of Churches because the service they provide, it's amazing. And thank you, Kathy, and thank you, Edie, because she's unbelievable. Thank you very much for being there for those people.
How coordinated Hands of Hope, the food pantry, the baby center, the homeless ministries, and we really all try to catch what the other one's missing, you know.
Excellent. If there's no further questions, and you're welcome to stay with us because we'll bring it all together at the end, I'm going to turn it over to our last speaker, and thank you very much for your patience. John Terry, and you are the pastor of South Church, is that right?
That's correct. South Church in Centerville.
Centerville.
And I'm not sure why I was selected to represent all the churches, mosques, and synagogues on Cape Cod. But we do have one central organization in the Council of Churches, and Kathy covered it really well. And Kathy, your ministry there is great. When I was serving a church in Hyannis, I had some occasions to be there. Let me just maybe report by way of 3 different churches I've served on the Cape. One as a settled minister, 2 as an interim. And the ministry that churches provide to the community is very episodic, very individual. If you know the church, the Federated Church of Hyannis, it's right across from where the Cape Cod Times used to be. It's a huge building. And while I was there, basically, we had a ministry of hospitality. We provide hospitality for the Council of Churches, for a baby center. A baby center helps about 500 children every month with diapers and clothes and counseling and car seats and the like. But particularly when I was there, my wife was the administrator, we did a couple things. One was my wife put together a list, I think it's probably similar to what you're trying to do, Cheryl, of places where people could go. Because of where that church is located, you know, we're by Duffy Health Center and then Noah Shelter and the First Church from the bus depot. We had a lot of people knock on the door asking for help. And we had a list of where to go if, you know, you had an issue with drugs or you needed medication or clothes or food or housing. What I discovered, I mean, the bad news was that most people paid no attention to that. They just wanted a handout. And they're saying, we need medication and food and so forth. They were just looking for money. The good news is that there is that list, and it was a help to people. But particularly what that church did, we hosted a lot of recovery meetings. I think at one point we had 10 different recovery groups, for Al-Anon, AA, OA, all those groups. I think the most significant thing we did, it was that there was a meeting on Wednesday and Friday morning that was started, I believe, by Duffy Health Center. And it was in our fellowship hall, and people could come in, they get a cup of coffee, they get some pastry. And Duffy was there with medical help. There was people there to help with mental health issues, medical health issues, housing. You're writing all this down. I should have written this down for you, Cheryl. I hope you don't get writer's cramp.
I'm used to it. You ought to read my book.
There was the community impact unit was there, and that was amazing. How welcome they were by the homeless community, because they were really their defenders. And we provide some food. There would often be clothing. Dan McCullough, M25, was there. He'd pass out sleeping bags and things like that. Unfortunately, that went away when I left, and the step groups went away. But those are critical things that churches can house if you're in the right location. When I left there as a settled minister, I was in Sandwich at First Church for about a year. It's a very different setting. One of the things that pastors get are phone calls from people just looking for help. Their car just broke down. They were driving from Utah to Florida, and they broke down on the Cape, and they need money for a transmission or for this, or they're staying in a motel. And you learn not to give any of those people any money, because there's a group of people who just call. It's sort of a rotating system of calls. Some will call the church once a month. Maybe the same story, maybe a different story. But that's one place that I've learned not to give help. But in Sandwich, we don't have those people stopping by. But that's a church, for example, that once a year would have a Sunday where they'd invite people like from Bay Cove and other places, Duffy Health Center, council churches, hand them a nice check. But also a place where they could do service. The Housing Assistance Corporation, one Saturday a year has the big fix. And so we'd have 25 people out fixing up somebody's whole yard and transforming that. That church right now is helping to build, I think it's 3 new houses in Sandwich. And so they provide, carpentry skills and money. The church I'm at right now in Centerville has a hunger ministry. That's kind of the center of what they do. And this all predates me. Once a month, we have some people bring food to the church, and we provide that to Duffy Health Center. Once every quarter, we help provide a lunch at Salvation Army. And then Kathy, you mentioned the Hands of Hope. Is that in Harwich?
John, I'm just, somebody's banging on my door. I'll be right back. I am not leaving you.
Okay, I'll wait.
Okay, thank you.
I could show you pictures of my grandchildren and my dogs while you're gone. Carlos, I want to thank you also for your questions about language and issues of language. That's really critical.
It is.
We had a Portuguese congregation staying in our building, and I tried to learn Portuguese, and I couldn't learn anything. I did have one Sunday where they had me preach, and it was fun. I would have a sentence, and the pastor would translate that into Portuguese, which works pretty well until you tell a joke.
That's right. You cannot tell a joke.
Yeah, those pauses don't work too well.
But it is the community is very large here. The last census, I believe, they count over 18,000 people in the entire Cape, but we think it's more than that because a lot of people don't answer the census. So, but go ahead. I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you.
Many apologies, John. I have a very good 7-year-old yellow lab who was an excellent 4-legged doorbell. Somebody was just turning in the drive and she was trying to let me know. Sorry about that. And then the guy came up to let me know and he's banging on the door. So, yeah.
Well,
many apologies for the interruption.
I'm almost on. 2 other things. We take up a monthly offering for Hands of Hope. And we used to have people bring cans of soup and stuff to church. And it was a pain because, you know, you've got an elderly congregation schlepping bags of soup from Centerville to Harwich. Instead, we once a month, the first Sunday of the month, when we have communion, we take up an offering. And that cash offering buys far more than you could buy just going to a local convenience store. And the last thing, we partner with the Council of Churches. The Here Now Ministries has a service the second Sunday of the month on the front lawn of First Baptist Church in Hyannis. And it's an opportunity for worship. You know, that's a critical need that people have who are homeless, people who are indigent, people who struggle with addiction and mental illness. And they're often not welcome in church. When I was in Hyannis, we did have a group that would come every Sunday. They'd sort of sit by themselves. And one of the reasons they would come is that we had food. And I don't know about now, but then weekend there was no food available at the normal locations like the Salvation Army or Bay Bridge. So, you know, they come in and they might endure my sermons, but they really wanted a donut. And so that really is a critical thing on the weekends. I mean, if you've been sleeping in the woods all weekend and you haven't had any food, just even coming into church where it's warm, coming to some place where you're welcomed, coming someplace you could have a little hot coffee and a treat is really critical. So that's what they do with the Here Now ministry. It's, I think, at 2 p.m. There's a time of worship. And after that, there's food available, there's clothes available, and there's fellowship available. So that's a sample of what 3 different churches do. There's, you know, I don't know, maybe 1,000 churches and synagogues. So there's 3 synagogues, but maybe 1,000 churches of different kinds, different ethnicities, and each provides something else. You know, talking about the language, being able to worship in your native tongue is so welcoming. Being able to receive a sacrament when you're Roman Catholic, it's so welcoming. So we each do something different. It would take you a long time to find out what everybody does. But most churches have something that they do to express the love of God.
John, I want to mention how often I still hear people that miss the coffee shop on Main Street on Wednesday. People still talk about that.
I miss it. I sometimes get all teary-eyed thinking about it because it was wonderful. I mean, it was a safe place. Didn't matter who you were. You could come in. If you needed a pair of socks, you'd get it. If you need a conversation, you got it. If you need somebody to give you a hint on where to stay that's safe, that's where you go. And I wish there was another place like that around.
Your other comments made me think of this brochure, which it was updated March 2019, and it's all these resources. And I still have it because it's the only thing I have to hand to people.
You know who created the original one was my wife.
Oh, really? It's awesome.
Yeah. Put her name down, Elise. Elise did that.
If these are all current phone numbers, it's something.
It's important. If you're struggling with recovery from addiction and you need to know a place to go to see, you know, Thursday evening, you could go to First Church in Harwich or something. There's critical information there. That's great. I'm glad it's endured.
We still have them. In fact, I have.
Kathy, I'd appreciate getting a copy of one of those. And John, I have 2 questions for you. One is, you called the one at the last church, the first church that you meant, First Church.
First Church of Christ in Sandwich.
Yeah, that they have the Here Now meeting.
Oh, no, the Here Now Ministry was started at South Church. It now belongs to the Council of Churches, and it's part of the Council of Churches ministry.
Okay. Wanted to make sure I got this. And the other one, I'm sure you're expecting this. Any chance I can get my hands on that list?
I'm sorry, did you have a question or are you just making a comment?
Any chance that you could share that list so we can put it into the database? And
Cheryl or Kathy, I mean. Yeah, Kathy, I'm sure.
This list.
Well, I mean, is that's the list there? Is there more to it?
It's
excellent.
I have several copies, so
okay. And I'm happy just to get a photocopy because I'm starting to build that database. Because I think that's part of the goal, to get the information all gathered. So, you know, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but also to keep it updated.
Right.
So if it's all right, I'm going to open it up. Do any of the committee members have any questions?
No, but I have some comments.
Excellent. Carlos, take it away.
Well, my comment is that so many families right now is struggling, even family who has 2 jobs, they have trouble find food, enough food for the family. So if it is a pantry with Kathy and we can refer to somebody, just let us know, please, because it is bad out there. And I heard a story about kids going back on the back of the high school to pick up bags of food to bring home because they don't have enough after they get out of school. So I think somebody should get in touch with the principal or a superintendent of the schools around, because the needs out there, it's very bad. I'm not talking about only the immigrant community, okay? I'm talking about generally, all the Cape community, they have some trouble somehow. Please be attention to that.
Like I said, we do have the capacity to serve much more. We get so many food donations, and we just need to figure out what that missing connection is.
Well, that's where we're
Carlos.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is an information thing, and being able to get the word out there. Any of the other committee members have any questions? Okay. Did we have any other committee members who arrived? It doesn't look like it. We had a few extra. So what we're trying to do is to put you know, kind of like the groundwork down on which to build, and to try to get an overall picture. We've so far trying to identify the community needs tend to center around mental health, homelessness, addictions. Homelessness goes with housing. I said mental health. There's another one I'm trying to think, but you know, trying to coordinate that, and how can we kind of bring all the services together and try to put together a proposal, because we're only an advisory group, but we're tasked with trying to see if we can come up with some sort of plan that the council may or may not like, or may want to tweak or change it or reject it or whatever. But also to put together a database so that information can get out there. I got involved in this because I was looking for particular services for some of my patients, and I thought, I'm being a commissioner on other town boards. I thought, oh, let's see what the town's got, and I thought, oh, rats. You know, it doesn't have it, so it or not what I was looking for. And I saw that we had human services, and I thought, there we go. So let's see if we can coordinate those various different entities. Carlos.
I'm sorry about that, but Diane, is there any connection with the sheriff's office about people coming out of jail to get some service if they need it?
We don't have any coordination specifically with them like that in reaching for folks that are being released from jail, but we definitely get calls from that arm of the world and saying like someone's coming out, they're in mental health treatment now in the jail, it's going well, we need to get them an appointment, and so we will get them an appointment and have them come in so they don't have to get into a crisis situation. So we definitely help in that sense, but we don't have any formal relationship with the jail.
The reason
there is the community impact unit.
Yeah, the reason I asked is because all the halfway house in Barnstable is gone. There's no halfway house anymore. And people
Really?
out of jail, they have no place to go, no money whatsoever, and we
Yeah.
need to work on that somehow. So
Yeah. No, we can definitely be there like once the people are in the community, but unfortunately, we don't have anything going in.
As we are aware, it's kind of a vicious cycle. You become homeless, you have addiction, and addiction feeds into the homelessness, feeds into the mental health, which feeds into the other. And it's kind of juggling, the various balls that tend to go back and forth. If you're not dealing with one, you're dealing with another. Any of the other committee members have any questions or comments? I want to say thank you so very, very much for everybody for communicating. What we're going to try to do is, I'm hoping next month, try to get everybody together and who has presented and see if we can, what the suggestions are. I mean, I know Chief Sonneman made some suggestions and a couple of others have made some suggestions, and they're all great suggestions, but it's what can we do to try to coordinate it and try to advise that makes sense, that allows us to try to address one way or another. A database makes sense in bringing it all up to date. I know the coalition had a database, and I went and I researched that. It seemed like it was going, rocket speed in 2015, and it was updated in 2019, but it doesn't seem to, I couldn't find anything where it was updated afterwards. And a lot of the stuff would still be the same, but to try to coordinate things. Council of Churches, Bay Cove, Duffy, Housing and Assistance Corporation, we've also had Gosnell, all do a fantastic job. And, thank you to everyone for taking your own time to speak to us tonight. And you will be hearing from me. I'll be sending you a form for the database, which, gives us permission to put it in the database and what you would like to put in there. What information you would like to go into that database. But also, to kind of get everyone together. And Diane, I think you'll recognize a lot of them, like Kevin Rosario from Gosnold and Sarah from Housing, and a lot of the same. Duffy, excellent presentation there. They seem, between the two of you, Bay Cove and Duffy, but I love that partnership because you seem to be trying very hard to tackle a lot of this. It's just there's so much of it.
Yes, very true.
Anyway, and very quickly, do we have anyone for public comment, Cynthia?
No, Madam Chair, there's nobody here for public comment.
The only other thing I wanted to say, and I hadn't forgotten, Cynthia mentioned, we need to elect a clerk. We may want to put that on the agenda for the next one. Is there anyone from the current committee members who would like to be clerk? We do have another person, as I said, who is applying. But if you do, please let me know, because I don't mind promoting it. I think anyone would be great. Thank you for coming tonight. I think I've covered everything. Is there any last minute thing anyone wants to say?
Just thank you to all of you. Thank you very much for being there for us and explaining what you do, because it's unbelievable what you're doing. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you for
Yes.
having me. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you for coming, all of you. Thank you so much.
Right,
And
take care.
so in that case, I'm going to ask for a motion. Well, we do have quorum for a motion for adjournment.
So move.
Seconded.
Seconded. Yep, seconded.
So Carlos, adjournment.
Yes.
Jim, adjournment.
Yes.
I don't think we have anyone else. I also say we will be adjourned. We are adjourned with much gratitude to the people who spoke to us, and also much gratitude to Cynthia for helping us out tonight. And next time we do want to do clerk, get somebody in
If
there.
you don't get anybody to do the clerk, since you moved your meeting to the third meeting of the month, I don't mind continuing. It was just a conflict when the appointments committee had changed it to the second Tuesday. So if you continue with the third Tuesday of every month meeting, I can still continue to do the clerk.
I know that you are super busy. Are you happy to do that?
Absolutely. It's not a problem if it falls on the third Tuesday. Be happy to do it.
Don't even have to put that to a vote. I think everybody would be very happy with your outstanding help.
Right.
Nice to
Okay.
meet everyone. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Good night.
Love your plants.
Thank you.
I have a similar office with lots of plants. Everybody comments. I like the philodendron.